Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Allie Hutchinson. I'm a staff minister at OCSL. My pronouns are she and they, and I will be your host tonight at our Wednesday night Oasis service. Oasis is a place where we gather midweek as a community to simply get spiritually refreshed midweek. Most Wednesday night services build on the theme from the previous Sunday as we share science of mind principles and practices with the intention that these gatherings be intimate and informal and interactive. The CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, annual theme for 2025 is Rising Higher, Growing Deeper. And our monthly theme for July is Rolling in the Deep. Last Sunday, Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman, our senior minister, introduced ideas inspired by this week's theme, Breathe, it's Shark Week. And tonight, our speaker will continue the exploration of that same topic. If you're new to our community or watching our recording for the first time, please visit our website at oaklandcsl.org, click on the I'm New icon, and look at the lower left-hand corner of that page to submit your email address. And once you do, you'll begin receiving our newsletter, The Village News, once a week in your email. It has information about all the fun things that are happening at our center. Before we start the talk, please mute your microphone if you haven't already. When you mute, it helps to improve the quality of the transmission and the recording. And you can leave your camera on if you like. And finally, please stay tuned through the end of the service to hear several important announcements. Our speaker tonight is Sean Dougan. Sean and his family, Rain, Mari, and Ollie, have been members of OCSL since 2016. His pronouns are he and him. Sean is a life learner who is continually exploring the science of mind philosophy through everyday observations and humor. Sean says he believes he hasn't gotten it right yet and struggles most of the time, unlike the rest of us, right? He believes that sharing lessons learned through stories and experiences can help us all in our individual transformations and collective growth. Through fellowship, we may find the nugget of truth that helps take us to that next step in our journey and further reveal the truth of who and whose we are. He reminds us that we're all in this together. So thank you in advance, Sean, for being our speaker tonight. But before Sean starts, we always start our services with prayer. So I invite you to join with me. Maybe just taking a couple of deep breaths to let go of all the events of the day, whatever drew our attention, whatever distracted us, as we just take a couple of deep breaths and settle into that center place inside where it's a little bit easier to contact spirit. And in that place, we know that there's only that one presence, that one power, that one mind that created everything, designed it and created it, and actually became it, pouring itself into the creation simply to delight in it, to learn from it, to experience itself through all the different pieces and parts of it, and what it can learn through each part of the creation and each one of us. We know that that one is a spiritual realm of infinite love and peace and joy, of divine order, of grace and ease and beauty. And as we turn our attention to our awareness inside of that one, what seeps into our consciousness little by little is an awareness that we are that our divine nature, our divine essence is simply one aspect, one manifestation of the one. That right where we are, what shows up for each one of us is all of the beauty and all of the creativity and all of the joy and all of the love, the power, the peace, all available to us as we open more and more to receive it. We're grateful for this opportunity to come together, to feel that oneness together, to create a little bit more of an experience of oneness. We know that this meeting is blessed, and we are so grateful for all that might happen to each one of us, those who are gathered here tonight and those who watch the recording later, as we open a little bit more to let spirit seep into us. And in that place of gratitude, I simply let go and let God. And I anchor this prayer by saying, and so it is. So now I would like to turn this over to Sean, who'll talk to us about Shark Week.
Thank you so much for that. I am Sean Dougan, and I am happy to be here. It's amazing how comforting it is to remember that we are all one when I'm speaking in front of you, um, because it's not about me, it's about us. Um, I got into this philosophy, this way of life, this spirituality, years ago through various books and things, but really solidified my involvement in this by my wife Rain, who's here. Years ago, when she introduced to me a text called "A Course in Miracles," and that's really that's really my introduction to it. Kind of blew my mind. I started really diving into this, and there's a 365-day meditation in the back of that book, and there's some cards that you have, and I've completed that. That's about the extent of the real work that I've done. I'm not a reverend, I'm not a practitioner, and I'm not an expert in this. So I want us to be here together. I want this to be a conversation, and we can explore this topic together. But I am going to veer off of the weekly topic. I really got hung right when I started this year off, and I heard the yearly theme. I got attracted to that, rising higher and growing deeper. And so tonight I'm going to really roll in the deep with that yearly theme. Probably overdo a metaphor. I am a forestry major. I studied natural resources management at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, and so the ocean. I love the ocean. I am more comfortable in the forest, and I know more about it. It seemed to be calling to me to talk about rising higher and growing deeper from the perspective of a tree and a seed and roots and stems and leaves and flowers. And so that is me veering off topic. I would like us to think about this discussion in order to deepen our self-awareness, to elevate our potential, and investigate how understanding and controlling our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions can lead to profound personal growth or enhanced creativity, a greater ability to achieve our goals, at least as we see them, and be more resilient to times where we think we're down, or where we think we failed, or we think we're off track. Um, and I would like to explore these concepts with you tonight, as it relates to this theme. And this quote from Ernest Holmes really struck me, and I kind of latched onto this one. And it goes like this: the conscious or the objective mind, the mind we are using right now to discuss things with, is personal, has self-awareness, and is creative. Just beneath this, we have what we call the subjective or the subconscious mind, which is a deeper layer of creativity. And that's from Ernest Holmes, The Power of an Idea. And so as we think about growing deeper and rising higher, I think of a tree, any kind of tree. There's thousands of different types of plants and trees. And to me, growing deeper really represents the development of the roots, right? And the roots I compare to our thoughts, some of the research we do, the effort, the blood, sweat, and the tears, the grind, that leads to the foundation of what we build our future on and what we, how we achieve our goals. And I firmly believe that with the roots are the practice. This is the philosophy, the everyday growth of the roots are what allows us to rise higher. And I'm going to propose that rising higher is the canopy and the leaves and the flowering, the thriving, the air intake and the enjoyment of life, its love, its peace and joy, its achievement, and hopefully satisfaction grounded in gratitude. And again, I'll propose that the roots are where the work is. The roots are where we set our foundation and where we build from. The rising higher part, the universe takes care of that. So I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean, but there's plenty of it. And this is how, a life cycle from a seed to stem really, really hits home in this metaphor. As I mentioned, I studied forestry in my schooling, and many different plants, botany, taxonomy. I mean, there are so many different types of plants and species and subspecies. We've categorized them all, but they all have a way that they spread their seed or that they grow. Some by wind, water, some attach their seeds to animals, and then they find their way to the dirt somehow. Some drop their seeds. Some are airborne, right? They fly, and they float to another place. But all of that information, as we've discussed before, is it's in that seed already, right? The seed isn't wondering what to do next. It just knows. It doesn't ask why. It just is, and it does what it's supposed to do. And it's all pre-programmed, right? And what's interesting about a seed, once it is in the darkness, once it has water and it swells, you probably know this, but the first thing that happens is what is called the radicle, and it emerges. It's the root. The root is the first thing that happens, and it begins to grow downward into the soil, and it anchors the seed, and it begins the process of nutrient and water uptake. It's only once there is a root, right, and compared to us, right, once there is a practice or a belief or an idea, that the stem can rise, and the shoot or the stem emerges from the seed and it grows upward. And once it does break the surface of the ground, then it starts to develop leaves, right? And so if I just pick this metaphor even deeper, right? Once we emerge into being and begin to sprout our leaves, what's out there waiting for us? It's sunshine, it's light, it's water, it's air. And the canopy can grow. And guess what? There's enough of that light. There's enough of that air. There's enough of that water. And that is where we begin to rise higher. And that's where I feel like other forces take over our initial thought and our beliefs as we've rooted them and we rise higher. That's when now we're getting help, right? Now the universe has said, oh, hello, you're rising higher. Here you are. Here, have this. And those of you, sorry, let me back up. Enrichment, fulfillment, just waiting to shower us with goods, right? Free of charge. Plenty of that out there for all of us, for you and me. And those of you that have been doing this work for longer than I have, know, as I've discovered, that it's not something that you do. It's not, this work isn't something I set my roots and now I'm done, right? I said my beliefs and I'm done. No, this is ongoing and it's everlasting, right? And that's the interesting thing about a tree, is that the root system, the metaphorical beliefs and ideas and foundation that we create for ourselves spiritually, is several times larger than what's actually above the surface. And it continues to grow throughout the tree's life, even after it's a certain size and it's mature and it's flowering. it continues to spread and find new ways to uh, new ideas, new nutrients, etc. Um, so as long as that tree is alive, like the roots can grow, they'll diminish in growth, but they never stop growing. And that's how I view our work, right? Never it's never stopping. It's ongoing. And when we hit times where we need to find some other path or we have to have a new idea, just the roots just keep growing, right? Um, so what happens when the tree is stressed or having health issues or there's dark times, right? Or there's a lack of nutrients, right? Well, the roots grow deeper and they change direction and search for other resources. And the tree does not ask, why is there not enough water? Why do I not have enough money? Why is it happening to me? Why have I lost my way? It just knows that it has, and it changes direction. So there's great, great wisdom in a tree. Um, and not only that, we know that trees aren't alone. Uh, they they live in forests, they live amongst other trees, and the trees intermingle not only with other trees, but with other organisms called mycorrhizae. And they're little organisms that attach to the roots that actually help the tree collect nutrients. They send messages between trees. So when there's say an insect infestation or a disease that's coming through, it'll actually trigger a message through the roots to other trees in the forest that this is happening, and those other trees will begin to form what are called volatile organic compounds to fight off whatever it is that may be coming its way, right? So I'm dipping into community here, and I'll get to that a little bit more. Um, but we can't talk about this metaphor um, without talking about winter, right? So, like I mentioned earlier, like a tree doesn't say, "Oh no, it's winter. Why is it winter? Well, why is this happening to me? Why is my life different? Why isn't it spring all year?" It's it just knows, and it reduces its water content in its seeds. I'm sorry, in its cells, because we all know what happens when water freezes, right? It expands, and if you've ever frozen your lettuce in your refrigerator, you know that it becomes really limp and gross. You can still eat it, but it wouldn't be very good. It's because it's frozen. The water in the cells have expanded and just blown the cell up, basically, and all the other cells, and so it becomes. So that can't happen. If that happened, the trees would all die. So what they do is they reduce their water content in preparation for that. Again, this is all pre-programmed, and they also increase the sugar content in their cells to make up for the water and allow them to make it through the winter. And I'm going to look at winter in this metaphor as dark times, as times when we may feel lost. We may be experiencing loss. We may be experiencing failure or health issues or depression. What you name it, whatever's personal for you. That's winter, right? And just like a tree, when that happens, the tree up above the surface shuts down. But guess what's still there, right? Still living, still working, still growing, still keeping the tree alive. It's the roots. And so it's in those times, I believe, that if we compare it to ourselves, in the dark times, we have our roots, we have our practice, we have the foundation that we need to get through that. We have to return there and focus on that. Think about, what's another direction? How do I look at this differently, right? How um, how can I be better prepared for this next time? Um, so I think it's fair to say that we need winter, actually, and trees do as well, in order to reset sometimes. And it's not a good feeling at that I don't think a tree if it had a personality likes winter, it just does winter, right? But we need it so that we can return to that, so that we can turn um, to our practice, right? To our meditation, whatever it is, breathing. I've mentioned before, was in the social time that we had before this. We went to Hawaii this year, and when many of you probably have experienced this, but next time you're near the ocean, especially in warmer climates, you can float on the ocean surface without moving a muscle and not sink. As long as you're breathing calmly, all sensory goes away, the sound goes away, and you can literally float there motionless. And speaking of Shark Week, if it wasn't for sharks, I think I would do it for longer. But I'm always kind of, I'm always kind of like, okay, that's enough of floating here motionlessly, because who knows what's below me. But my point is that like that is something that I return to when I am having, when I'm anxious or when I'm ill or when I'm sad. I remember floating there. That's where I can go back to in my mind, right? Um, and so sometimes sometimes when winter is extremely brutal, um, sometimes it's actually this door closing and another door opening. An example of that I have is I used to play. I'm a musician, and I used to play music at weddings, and I suffer, and I've realized this over time. I suffer from extreme stage fright. So I would need everything perfect. I would show up early. We played outdoors. It was along Lake Tahoe. I played for a company at Zephyr Cove. There were 70 weddings a day. And I would play these songs. I'd get hired and I'd play these songs. And I was so nervous. One day I forgot my amplifier. I had no way to project the sound coming. I didn't forget my guitar. That would have been a game changer. But I forgot my amplifier. How are anybody going to hear me? It's usually windy right on the lake, but it was morning that day. And at that moment, my anxiety and my stage fright and my whole thing I had going on blew away. It was like, it can't get any worse than this, right? This is this is rock bottom. And I picked up my guitar and I wound up mingling through the procession and through the ceremony with my guitar without my amplifier, which I never would have done in a million years. And I just let go and I just played. It was the best wedding I'd ever played. But it took me being in this place of almost helplessness, right? And just like I can't even fathom forgetting my amplifier. And yet afterwards I had people coming up to me from that wedding were like, that was amazing. And so I won't beat that to death, but I did one time forget my shirt, and that was a different story. But I'll leave it there. But again, I want I want you to remember that the roots are where our work is, and we can return there and continue that practice through that growth, even when up top it feels like things are dying, right? It feels like things are cold or harsh. Um, and but remember that up top where the sun is, where the air is, where the rain is, that's the universe. It's still there. You just have to accept it back in, and our practice can help us wait and stay there, and build resilience to these times, right? So we'll talk about like there's a way that you could get to, I'll call flowering. A tree, it goes through its life cycle and eventually it produces flowers. And if it produces a fruit, then after it's fertilized, then it creates a seed and the whole cycle begins again. So a flower can be your life in the end and who you are, but a flower can also be these little ideas and little things you're pursuing in life, right? Like goals or aspirations or jobs or getting more wealth, etc. But there's really a lot of examples around there of trees flowering and people getting to the flowering stage without doing the work for the roots. And it happens. I've got a couple examples I'll share. But once you're there and you're flowering and you're like, this is it, I made it, right? You won the lottery, right? You you won it big, or you became a professional athlete or whatnot. But you didn't do the mental work, or you didn't do the work that built the foundation to keep you there sustainably. What you see is like 1/3 of lottery winners who win the lottery actually go broke within 3 to 5 years. And they attribute it to not being, you know, um, not being ready for that amount of wealth, right? Not having the financial ability to manage that wealth, or just changing your lifestyle so much that you can't handle it, right? And then you bought a big house, you bought a car, you bought a boat, whatever it is, and then before you know it, like you've bitten off more than you can chew. There's so many examples of that. There's, as Jacob Glass used to say, there's um, people would say, hey, the universe isn't going to give you more than you can handle. Well, there are mental institutions full of people that got more than they could handle, right? So it happens. But wouldn't it be better to build that foundation and get ready and have the mental acuteness to, when you do get there, actually feel like you earned that, right? And that's why we're not going to get. This is my opinion, okay? We're all trying to get there, right? We're all trying to reach enlightenment. We're all trying to reach this great understanding where we are Jesus Christ or Buddha. Um, but we have to do the work. It's not going to be handed to us, but it's waiting for us. And so, again, I'm talking about uh, professional athletes that are, there's a three-legged stool there. What I've heard is that you have to have you some you have to be born with some kind of natural ability, right? They say natural born talent, genetics, etc. That's one leg of the stool. The other leg is hard work, right? The work that you do, the practice, the weightlifting, the physical therapy, the practice, the meeting people, networking, all of that. That's another leg of the stool. And then the third leg of the stool, kind of what we're talking about, is the mental ability to be able to handle that level of work, to be able to handle loss, to be able to handle failure, to be able to get through injury. And our son Ollie has broken his ankle in the last year and rolled it multiple times playing basketball. All he wants to do, everything to him. He had to stop playing basketball to get better. That was extremely hard on him. And we had a lot of talks about this, about how this is something you want. It's early. Don't worry. There'll be another springtime. But you're building the mental ability right now to be able to handle that and withstand these storms that are going to come. I think professional athletes, I don't know the ratio, but I know they fail a lot. They win, but they fail more than they win. And so that mental ability is something. It's the root system, right? It's the foundation. It's what we need to thrive and make it through these times. Lastly, I'll give one last example of, I mentioned I'm a musician. I I'd like to hear from you as well, like some of your thoughts, and we'll stop and we'll have a moment for you to collect your thoughts. I have some questions for you, and some elements that I think we can focus on together. I want to hear your ideas and how they could help me, and then I have some ideas and stories that I'd like to share too if we have time. So, but lastly, I'll just say, right, rising higher before I've developed, or one has developed the proper root system to be ready for something. Um, I I moved our family, it was Rain and I at the time, down from the mountains, in about the year 2005 or six, and I quit my job. I went to a psychologist. I said, I'm not happy here. I have my goals. I have dreams. I want to be a professional musician. And that psychologist was retiring. It was like his last day. I think I was his last patient of his life. And he was like, you're not supposed to do this as a psychologist. He's like, you should do it. And so I did it. And it wasn't just him. I think I knew I was being called. Anyway, I joined a band of friends that I knew down there. They said, hey, come down, join our band. I was living in a closet. They were working all day while I practiced, while I tried to set up a website. We got gigs. We were playing on stage. That band lasted probably less than a year, and the rhythm section and the lead guitarist had a fight, and it all. Luckily, I got a job down here, and I it was after we moved here. We had jobs, and that band imploded, right? And at the time, I can tell you that that was like the biggest failure of my life. I was embarrassed. I was mortified, right? Um, I thought that my days of being a musician or writing music or that was going to be taken away from me, you know. And and so what I did was I returned to the source and I started studying. I started I came at it from a different perspective, from a more realistic perspective, right? That just because I play music doesn't mean I'm going to be professional. What is it about music that I like? It's not the money. It's not the work really. It's the performance. Well, wait, I can perform. I don't need to quit my job to do that, right? So you see where I'm going with this. I started practicing. I started reframing it. I started a new direction. My roots started to grow and find different ideas and nutrients, whatever. Take the metaphor where you want. And I'm not a professional musician, but I can tell you I'm loving playing music right now. And I have kids that I taught that we invested in their music and their lessons. And there's music in our house every day. And who knows, one of my kids might be a professional musician, right? And it wasn't about me. It wasn't that journey taught me so much. I look back, yeah, that could have been a failure at the time, but did I know the whole picture? Because if it wasn't for that, I might not have had the perspective and the patience and the time to spend with my children teaching them how to play music. And like I said, who knows what's going to happen with them? They're setting their own roots and they're rising higher, I can tell you. So that's a few of my stories, and I appreciate you listening to this metaphor that I rolled in the deep on that one. I went real deep with that one, and I just want to do a just pause for a second, and I want you all to take 5 minutes, and I want you to think about the work when you have been in times when you have been lost, where you felt like your path maybe had ended or that it just turned a completely different direction, times where you didn't know where to go, what to do. What did you do? And what could you do related to going back to your source, right? Like going back to your practice, whether that's breathing, meditation, some way that you build resilience, right? In order to be able to weather the next storm or the next winter. And in particular, I want you to think about these four elements that are really highlighted in our practice. And one of them is emotional intelligence. Think about how your emotions, knowing how you build the resilience to know how to react or when not to react, or notice certain reactions may not be helpful to the universe who's always eavesdropping in, right? It's always like, huh, what? What was that? And think about that in emotional intelligence. How do you build that in your practice? How do you visualize and manifest? Is the next element. Visualization and manifestation, right? We all know that we can pray. We can pray all we want. I want more money, or I want a bigger house, but we have to move our feet, right? We can treat, but we got to move our feet. That's the roots. That's the practice. And I want you to think about gratitude and positivity. How can you change your outlook on certain things when you have to pivot? And then lastly, community and connections. How are your interactions in those times with those around you? How are you connecting with your community? And how are you allowing your community to support you as well? Like the aspen grove in Colorado called Pando, which is the largest living organism on the planet. It's all one root system, but multiple trees. It's about 106 acres of the same organism. How does your community communicate to you, and how do you let it? So, so those are the things. So take 5 minutes And then I'm going to open it up for everyone else to kind of share. And I'd love to hear, and I'm going to take notes because we're in this together. And I'll stop talking now. And thanks for listening. But let's take a moment. In about 5 minutes, we'll check back in and then we can share.
Sure, I can share.
Maureen.
I have someone coming to drop something off, so I may be interrupted, but Sean, great talk. Thank you so much. So the first one, emotional intelligence, is I am self-aware. If I'm facing a challenge, I go within and kind of see like, how am I interacting with that challenge? Instead of like before, I used to like avoid that, right? Substances or whatever. Instead, now it's like, I want to look into it. I want to go deeper so that I can get rid of it. And so to understand it. And so that's one of the things that I do. And then movement, I think, is important. Being in nature, things like that. And then for the visualization and manifestation, I do vision boards. I do visioning when in groups because it's hard to do visioning by myself, but it is a good practice. And I try to get, through prayer, I try to get to the feeling tone of what I want. So whatever it is, I might not be able to have the words that I can say to express what I want, but I can get to the feeling tone. Gratitude and positivity, I use affirmations. I say them aloud, what I'm grateful for. And I'm just a naturally positive person. And then community and connection, I have a prayer partner or partners. Service, so giving of service. Learning, teaching, socializing even when I don't want to, and asking for help. So those are my three.
And Sean, I think you tried to say something. You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Oh, I was just, thank you. The vision board is something that I really would like to try to use more. I don't take the time to do that. It sounds like a great one. But asking for help it's hard to do that sometimes. So thank you for that. I just wanted to thank you. That's super helpful, and I want to hear from anyone else. I'm taking notes. So
Okay, I'll
Dodie.
go.
Dodie.
Thank you, Sean. That was a very good talk. I didn't know that much about trees, and I found it fascinating. The emotional and intelligent. When I'm stuck in something, I really have tried many different things to pull myself out of it. And when I'm able to do that, I'm able to clamp onto something that allows the other part to unfold. Like if I decide that I'm going to do, I'll say this one. When I decided I was going to be a practitioner, I was just taking classes because I love this philosophy. So I just kept taking classes. And the information that you get from the classes allowed the growth of going deeper and rising higher. So when you're in it, you utilize that, and the visualization part becomes almost it shows up for you because you work the first one to think I can do this, and so and in religious science they retreat and move your feet. So whatever it is we're trying to do, there is a need or desire to, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna take this class. I'm gonna pass this test. I'm gonna do whatever. So you're already doing those things in the flow of it. And the gratitude thing is you begin to say how grateful you are that you've mastered something. How grateful and thankful that it unfolds in the way that you wanted it to. So that shows up for me. And community and connection. The shift is many times for me is to engage in something with like-minded people. Engage in something that won't take away from whatever this is that I want to do. It will allow me to expand because I'm going to be in a group. I'm going to be in and I might hear some things that even though I've studied, I've tried, but I might hear some stuff from someone new that can give me even more. So I hope I answered those questions because that's how. Okay, I'm complete.
Thank you, Dodie. Anybody else? I'll say one thing that came for me is when I've been in situations where I feel like there's a little bit of a loss involved. I'm thinking one example is like getting this what looked like a really great job and getting there and finding out it was a terrible fit. Like, I'm gonna have to move on within like the first year, I was like, no. And what I only realized this later. I think I had a natural tendency back then to decide not only was I not going to get discouraged and kind of go down in the dumps, and not only was I not going to just try to replace it, but I was going to try to replace it with something better. And I think in my early years, I probably did that more out of anger, like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to go get something better. But I at some point fairly recently realized I have had a tendency to do that through my life, and it has like served me incredibly well. Like it could be even better than this. So, and I see Judith's hand. I want to give her time.
Okay, thank you. Um, it's a good question, Sean, about what do we do when we're down in I'm paraphrasing, but down in the dumps, at a challenging, really difficult time. Did I get it right? Okay. So I think I always try to go within and maintain my regular practices, one of which is meditation every morning. And that's been a practice since I was 19. And I try to stick with it no matter what's happening. Even if even if I can't settle down, I still try to sit there and find that place of groundedness and peace within me. And I reach out for help. In one time, uh, it was a psychologist that I went to, and it was really, really helpful. And another time, uh, actually, it was the same related incident, same related challenge, but I also see somebody who's a healer, an energy worker, and having it going for energy work, and especially moving energy in my body if I'm stuck. And also just somebody who's familiar and comforting. This person is somebody I've been seeing for a long time, so um, he really can tune into what's happening and see things that I don't see. And then friends, just reaching out to friends or maybe family, depending on what the issue is. But um, friends can be really, really supportive and helpful. And I think it's just finding people that are compassionate. So it's the combination of maybe going to professionals, but also going to friends and family that are just understanding and compassionate, and people who I feel like have my back and will give me a hand through it. That's been very, very helpful and successful. Thank you. I'm complete.
Unless anyone else has a burning comment, I think we might move on. So let's give Sean some love. That was great. I also learned a lot about trees. I don't think you strained the metaphor at all. So we're moving now toward our announcements. So this Sunday, July 20th, Lucian Baker, we've got a treat. Lucian Baker, religious science practitioner emeritus, will be speaking on Honor Your Boundaries. Meditation starts at 10, followed by the service at 10:30. And then next Wednesday, July 23rd, Mark Juarez will be speaking at our midweek Oasis service, an encore discussion on the topic Honor Your Boundaries. So same as tonight, 6:30 meditation and 7 o'clock on Zoom, and hope you're there. The tickets for our 80th anniversary gala on September 20th are on sale right now. You can get early bird tickets at a 10% discount until August 1st. Visit oaklandcsl.org/events. The 2025 Open Forum meeting will be held on Sunday, July 27th from 1 to 3 p.m. We encourage everyone to come in person, but you can join us on live stream if you can't. Everyone's encouraged to come, and our monthly community potluck will be held after the service and prior to the forum. Please join the Ministry of Prayer for Friday night prayer happy hour on July 18th, 7 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. This is a weekly event on Fridays, except for the fourth Friday of the month. Practitioners Maureen Milena and Megan Lemon extend an open invitation to anchor in prayer with your spiritual community. And you can visit oaklandcsl.org/events to get the link. You can also join practitioner Maureen Milena after service on July 20th at 1 p.m. for a 2-hour workshop. Stand in Your Truth, the Spiritual Practices of Boundaries. This is an interactive experience exploring boundaries as a sacred practice that honors our spiritual integrity, energy, and truth. Learn to uphold healthy boundaries with clarity and compassion. This session is offered on a love offering basis. So visit oaklandcsl.org classes and workshops to register. If you think you can't come in person, it might be held on Zoom. So check on the website to see if that's something you're interested in. Join Amy Chofnick on Saturday, August 2nd at 11 a.m. for a crafting party on our patio. Learn how to use bleach to dye denim and give a modern update to a pair of jeans, or put some fun in a jean pocket, or maybe recycle denim scraps into other items. Bring your 100% cotton denim article and your creativity. Each spot is $40. Visit oaklandcsl.org, the Classes and Workshops tab, to claim your spot. And then please join Irene Sardanis for a writing workshop, Sit Right Down, on Sunday, August 3rd, 1 to 3 p.m. in the social hall. Bring a pen and paper, no experience necessary, and prompts will be offered to inspire your writing. A $25 love offering is encouraged, but no one will be turned away for lack of funds. You can go to oaklandcsl.org and again to our Classes and Workshops tab for more information. There's still time to join our chair dedication campaign. Create your plate inscription that'll go on the back of one of the chairs in our sanctuary or social hall. There are 4 levels to choose from $50 to $500, and 2 to 5 lines. You can include on there yourself, your family, friends, ancestors, organizations, whatever dedication you'd like to make. And you can also share lines with someone else to reduce the cost. Registration is on oaklandcsl.org/events. Our nonprofit partner for July and August is Inside Circle. This is a nonprofit dedicated to fostering personal growth and healing among individuals who are impacted by the justice system, creating transformative programs for people inside the prison system, programs for currently and formerly incarcerated youth, transitioning back into society, and much more. Visit their website at insidecircle.org for more information. And our Spirit Treasure bookstore is celebrating in July with Meditating in the Garden. Items featured on our 30% off table include Buddha garden statues, malas, wind chimes, singing bowls, and journals. And be sure to pick up your Oakland CSL 80th anniversary bag for $15 plus tax in the bookstore. On our slide is our contact team for anyone you might need to contact for various needs around Oakland CSL. And now we will transition to our giving time. So conscious giving is a celebration. It's an expression of gratitude. It's a spiritual practice. In giving, we celebrate our community and express gratitude for all the folks who give of their time, talent, and treasure to sustain it. We also give and acknowledge our place in the flow of universal power and abundance, and we put our intentions for greater experiences of abundance into action. In that spirit, please follow along with me as I read our giving affirmation. And if you're muted, please feel free to read out loud with me. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies this offering. It blesses all that I am, all that I give, and all that I circulate. Thank you, love, as me. So it is. On our slide, you can see the various ways to donate. If you go to oaklandcsl.org and click on the red donate button, it'll take you to a page where you can find all sorts of different ways to give. Cash and check and Zelle and text and all sorts of things. And now we'd like to show some appreciation for those who have given their time, talent, and presence to tonight's service. First and foremost, our speaker, Sean Dougan. We didn't have any ministers present tonight, I don't think. And tonight's tech host, Freddie Lambright. Our administrator coordinator, who works in the background with doing things like our slides, Steve Carter. And I want to also thank all of you who are simply participating tonight, whether you offered your presence tonight or offering your presence in the future by watching us on YouTube. Every person's presence contributes to the atmosphere of our service tonight. So right now we'd like to offer a short closing prayer and just slowing down a little bit, letting go of our thoughts, letting go of whatever might be going on around us, and settling into that awareness that we are grateful. We're grateful for Sean for offering our talk tonight, for everyone who offered their time and presence to tonight's service. We're grateful for this opportunity to come together and experience this particular aspect of oneness. And we know that as we increase our awareness of the oneness that connects all of us, we also bring that sense of oneness and love and joy into our daily lives as we go into our week. And for that, we are also grateful. So in that spirit, we simply let go, let God amplify that presence of spirit within us. And I anchor this prayer by saying, and so it is.
Yes.